Hello and welcome to Microsoft Hates Greg. My name is Greg Deckler, and today we're going to be talking about a SQL BI blog article that I stumbled across on LinkedIn today. And it's about, you know, you know, the reason number 6,942, not to use calculate, right? There's not that many reasons, but I just picked a number that was bigger than the number of days that measure totals have been broken in Power BI because there's more reasons to not use calculate than that, in my opinion. But so basically, the crux of this article is it filter columns, not tables and DAX, when using calculate. I need to make that quite clear. Calculate table. So basically, what they have here, and you can read the article. This is the link. I'll make sure I include the link in the description to their SQL BI's website and blog article on this. But they have some simple measures, right? Quantity times net price, quantity times net price in their receipts table and the sales amount table. They've got their model here, right? I mean, it's all pretty standard stuff. And they have a pretty reasonable looking, calculate their combined revenue measure, where they filter their sales table for greater than or equal to 500 and receipts for greater than or equal to 500. And they get the wrong answer, right? So the combined revenues should be large revenues correct, combined revenues, large revenues correct. In this case, they've got 9,324,000. This is I think this is on the large model, whereas I'm using a different model anyway. I'm using the one that PBX file that they included, right? So anyway, and the reason is this table expansion thing, which you can read about in another blog article, expanded tables and DAX and all that. Anyway, long story short, it's really easy to get the wrong answer using calculate. Shocker, right? But what came to my mind is like, what about the no calculate version? Like, how does that fare? So in this case, and again, the numbers here are a little different than the blog article, but I'm using the large revenues correct measure, right? This is the combined revenues. This is the large revenues correct, which you can see is this number. And then what I've got here, and that is here is their sales amount, right? So it's that sum X sales quantities net price, and they have the receipts amount is the receipts sales quantity or receipts quantity or net price. Their combined revenues are just those two measures together. And then the large revenues correct is the formula that they showed with the keep filters, right? Instead of using a filter clause. Okay, the important thing is, so I tried my very best to get the wrong answer using a no calculate approach. In fact, I tried 4 different times. So I've measure 2, measure 3, measure 4. So here's a first kind of, I would say, first naive attempt where I use add columns to add the net price and quantity to the sales table, to the receipts table. And these could be made probably a lot more efficient if I use select columns and things like that, but I wasn't trying to get overly fancy with this. And then I do a sum X across that table where the value is greater than or equal to 500, and come in sum X the value column. Do the same thing for receipts, then add those two together, get a result, right? And there's some interesting things that you're going to learn that I kind of discovered in doing this process. So the next one that I did was the same exact formula, but I used the base sales amount and receipts amount measures, which remember that, because it actually makes a huge difference. And then this is another one where measure 3, where I created a column, a calculated column in the tables, right, that do the same exact thing. They just multiply the quantity times the net price, and then do greater than or equal to that, because I wanted to compare how using a calculated column could compare because it's going to increase your data model a little bit, and it's going to have high cardinality. It increases the data model by about 10% or so. But I wanted to see the difference in terms of performance. And then measure 4 is this is the one that I would write if it was me, right? Where I would do a sum X filter sales net price times quantity greater than or equal to 500, and then sum X the net price times the quantity. Same thing with receipts, right? And then add the two together. Okay, and so of course I have, here, this one is measure This one's using measure, right? It comes out to the same exact answer, right? This one is using measure 2, which it also comes out to the exact right answer. This one is measure 3, comes out to the exact right answer, right? So all the right answer, plus I have this measure 4 right here, which also shockingly comes out to the same right answer. So it's basically, it's I don't know how you can get the wrong answer by if you don't use calculate, right? It's only calculate where it just the what's going on under the hood is so complex and such a black box that it's easy to get the wrong answer, right? So now the interesting thing about this though is that they also mention in the article the performance difference between the large revenue is wrong versus the correct version, and that the correct version is much faster than the wrong version. But so I wanted to check out the performance of these different measures, right? So let's go ahead and do this. I've done this a couple times. We'll see if we get the same results that I've been getting. So do a refresh visuals, do a refresh visuals, refresh visuals, and refresh visuals. Okay, let's take a look. So this is the matrix SQL BI. We have 16. We have measure 1 is 27. We have measure 4, which is 16, same performance, right? That's the one that I would write. We have, using the calculated column, we have 16, right? And then, but here, this is the interesting thing. So it's, so this is 27. And this is over that almost twice as slow, right? And all I did was just substitute out using a nested measure versus just doing the calculation in line in the same DAX. And so this was something that is interesting to me because Brian Julius, I made some offhand comment about what misery it is to debug somebody's code that they've just infinitely nested measures. It's just such a hassle. But in this case, also points out that it can be costing you performance, right? So I mean, this one's twice, and that's the only difference, right, between those two formulas is this one, right? I do the net price times quantity in line with the add columns, and then do a sum x across it. And then, or this one, I actually use those measures, those nested measures. So I thought that was very interesting, and it remains consistent throughout all of this. So let's take a look here. So the second time we ran this, right, 18, measure 1 is 25. It's to be expected, it's going to be slower. Measure 4 is actually faster, right? That's the one that I would write. The calculate columns is 17, just a little bit slower, but still and actually faster. And then again, 52, right? Crazy numbers. So let's see here. Using calculate, it's 24, 36, 21. So no calculate is faster. 21 using calculated column is faster, right? 56, same kind of thing. We're using that nested measure, really slows things down. 25, measure 1, it's 37. So it's consistently slower, right? But the one that I would write is consistently just faster or just as fast. And then 23. So interestingly enough, so when I was running these earlier, like the calculate column, at least, once in every 4 or 5 tries would come back actually faster than any of the other methods, which I thought, maybe by a couple of milliseconds, which I thought was interesting. We're not getting that results now, so it's probably just a fluke or not statistically significant. But, again, why in God's name is anyone using calculate these days? When you can just get the just flagrantly wrong answers to problems that are otherwise trivial to solve with no calculate and just as fast, right? So boggles my mind that I swear that people just they pitch using calculate just so they have something to write blog articles about, right? I mean, if you took away calculate, I think 3/4 of SQL BI's website would be gone. Right? I mean, they have so many blog articles about calculated, its nuances and stupidity. They don't call it stupidity, but it's just stupidity in terms of stuff it does. It just doesn't make any sense, and it's impossible to debug it. And they even say that in the article that it's like, hey, good luck trying to get to the, even DAX masters would have a hard time debugging and trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So anyway, Yet another reason to not use Calculate, which, I usually ignore those articles, but I'm kind of, because I don't use Calculate, so it's like I don't need to know this, right? I don't need to know this stupidity that Calculate does. But that one just caught my eye, and I read it, and I'm like, I need to actually try that out, and see if I can get no Calculate to break, and do something stupid the way that Calculate does. But couldn't do it. So there you have it. That's all I had for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.